Yeah, see what happens when you leave? You leave and I make decisions on my own. This sort of shit happens.
What's going on, guys? Back from work. So hope you've enjoyed your little bit of time with Rex. I don't know how much he's been filming, but as you can see, his 31's getting fully revamped. Dan traded the VL for this SS Ute, so VL's gone. Pretty good trade if you ask me.
So it actually like clips onto the crank, so it fucked the crank as well. Yeah, it would. So that's the number 2 rod.
Rightio guys, so Dan just dropped in for a service on his new ute, so he actually swapped his VL for that white SS ute, so pretty good deal there. Quite a nice ute, so it's just pretty much bone stock, just with a cold air intake at the moment, but we're talking about other plans for it, other things he wants to do. He's talking about turbo on it, so hopefully that is, you know, going to come along pretty well. See how Dan goes with his work and money and that sort of thing, and see where we end up with it. So, but anyway, he's gone now, did the service, all good. And yeah, this thing, I don't know how much Rex has been filming. Again, I haven't had a chance to look through any of the footage he's got. He said he has not been getting that much footage because he's been really busy. So hope you are enjoying the 31 content being back. I know so many of you really enjoy the 31 content. So this thing is getting sort of pretty out of hand with what Rex is doing to it. As you can see, R34 steering rack, which actually, to my surprise, bolts straight in. I thought it would be like putting an S13 rack where you have to modify one side, but it literally just bolts straight in, which is nice for everyone to know. So that's just an R34 GT rack, so like full non-high cast sort of setup. Yeah, that should hopefully feel a bit better in this car. So he's completely smoothing out the engine bay. Obviously he's worked out whatever holes he's going to need, and he's welded all the rest up. He's going to completely smooth it out and paint it. He's hid all the wiring. Believe it or not, looking at that there, all of the wiring is actually in there, except for the engine loom. So the only wiring that'll be in there more than what you see now is literally just an engine loom, which is just going to come from that hole straight onto the motor, and that's it. So going to be very tidy in here once that's done. So he's got to go pick up, he's got a new clutch and flywheel to put on his motor. He's got a new crank out of that RB30 that we pulled out of that GQ, so lucky we had that sitting there, because out of like 7 RB30s we've got sitting around here, we've only got one good crank, which is wild. But it is what it is. So yeah, it's going to be full fresh motor, which is going to be awesome in this car, and it's going to be real nice. So we've got you saw us get the Silhouette a couple of weeks ago from our mate. So we're going to be using all of the Silhouette interior in this car. Obviously the Silhouette doesn't have front seats, but we do actually have 2 of these bucket seats, this is a bit filthy, it needs a good cleanup, but we do have a pair. So they can be a pair of bucket front seats. We'll put the complete Silhouette interior through it, so it's really nice. Yeah, so going to be a really nice car. Oh, that's the other thing, the front end setup is now the same as mine with the GK Tech roll center correction kit, so it's going to be big block, obviously with bigger wheels than mine though, so it's going to be a pretty serious car when it's done, full respray. And as you know, it is going to be for sale when it's finished, so we're pretty much just rebuilding it so that we can sell it, because we need the funds for this upcoming deal, which we'll be able to talk about very soon. We're just waiting for some finance to be finalized. We don't want to go talking about it before it actually goes through. So once that's done, we'll let you know what's going on there, but that's why mine's for sale, that's why this thing's for sale. That's why it's getting built, and I've actually got a few things to fix on mine before it goes as well, which I'll start looking at doing today. Yeah, Rex has been a busy boy. So yeah, I'm just home for like the weekend between jobs at the moment, just waiting to see what's happening with work, so I had a bit of time. So my Skyline, as you all know from the last times I've driven it, I'm getting to a point like the sump is real bad. So for those of you who followed the build, you saw that the sump I chose, it ended up having it's had a different bung welded into the sump, and it doesn't seal properly. It never has. It's always weeped oil. No matter what I've done, it's weeped oil, and it's always really pissed me off. So at Matsuri, I actually must have driven over a rock while I was driving through the pits as well, and it's put a big dent in the sump now too. So for ages I've wanted to just put a new sump on it. I've got another sump there. It's just the thing is, when I built it, I put my bung in for my oil temp sensor, I welded it into that sump. I painted that sump up, I put it on the motor, and I only realized at that point that the bung had been changed and it was different. So pain in the ass that happened the way it did, but I'd already had it on the motor and RTV'd it, and I thought I'd run the risk and just put it in the car rather than try and change the sump. And unfortunately that didn't pay off because the sump leaked, always has. So I've got a new sender, or new bung to put in for another sump for a new sender. I've also bought a -10 fitting to put on the sump so that I can actually have the sump that breathes, because I'm going to change the catch can setup as well, because as you know, the other issue I have with that car is the blow by because of the ring gap. So I'm personally not that bothered by the ring gap being big. It makes it very safe being turboed, especially with the lumpy top pistons in it. So a little bit of blow by doesn't scare me. It's just that the way the catch can's set up, it is blowing by and getting oil everywhere. So my plan is to put a new sump on it so that the sump doesn't leak anymore, and put a new catch can setup on it so that it doesn't blow oil all over the place. So in that new catch can setup, I'm going to put one on the sump so that the sump breathes as well. And after that, it should be pretty much all the issues with that thing sorted, and it can go up for sale. So the first thing I've got to do is find a new sump to use. So anyway, lucky I got a fair few of them. So I should have a couple to choose from. Righto, so this sump here is pretty much perfect. I've got another one in there that's got a bit of a ding in the sump as well, so I'll leave that one, I'll use the good one. But this is obviously off one of the motors that had a massive bearing failure, because it's absolutely full of crap. So I'm gonna have my work cut out for me cleaning this out, but at least it'll be a perfect sump, and it does still have the factory drain plug and bung in it, so hopefully it will not leak. So worth doing. It needs to be done. Can't sell a car to someone when it's leaking oil like that, especially from a sump. It's not an easy thing to do, so definitely has to be done before we sell it off. The other thing is I've got a good RB25 fan here, which I'll take up for Rex to use on his, because he's still got the 30 fan on his hub. So we'll chuck a 25 fan on it because they draw a fair bit more air. So I can go on Rex's for him to sell it too. Crap everywhere. It's all going on around here. So you can see here just how much crap is in the sump. Like, I just pulled that out of the bottom of the sump. Oh bloody hell. This is wild. Oh, look at that. That's all bearing shell. I wonder what motor this sump came off. Oh, that is disgusting. So yeah, this is definitely going to need a very good clean out. God, look at that. That's insane. Christ. Problem is, you can't get the windage trays out of them. So, gotta try and clean them out. God, there's so much crap in there. Wow. That is nuts. Rightio, so I think I've done pretty well in getting all the metal out of that sump. I'm assuming that's probably why I didn't use that one in the first place. It's because I was probably like, makes more sense to use the one that's not full of metal. But pretty sure it's all cleaned out there now. I'll just let it dry out for a while and then start cleaning it up. So I've got here a new 1/8 MPT bung for my oil temperature sender. So that goes on the low side, which is the bung side, which is the driver's side in the RB for oil temp sensor. So a nice, solid, reliable oil temp that's actually in the sump. And then this here is just a -10 male fitting, which I'll put on the other side, which is the same side as the turbo drain. So I'll put that up high in the sump. Obviously the bung goes low in the sump for good oil temp. This will go high in the sump so that the crankcase, like the bottom of that sump, is going to breathe nice and well. Hopefully prevent a bit more of that blow by being such an issue. So that allows the sump to breathe, which in turn allows the whole motor to breathe, which in turn stops pressurizing the oil returns and pressurizing all the oil up in the head and that sort of thing. So that's the plan there. I did think about making the catch can setup return to sump so that you didn't have to worry about it, the catch can filling up so much. But as much as I don't disagree with that being a pretty good idea, I just find that catch cans are, a pretty good tool for identifying problems and that sort of thing with your motor. So I like the idea of being able to sort of check how much your catch can is filling up and gauge an idea of how your motor's behaving off that. So my plan is to make that just a breather. So it's going to go into the top of the catch can, not the bottom like a return to sump would be. So I'll have 3 -10s in the top of the catch can, 2 to the valve cover, 1 to the sump. And then what I'll do is route the catch can drain down through the guard into the wheel well and have a tap on it. So it makes it real easy to just turn your wheel at the track, put a container under it, open the tap and see how much comes out of the catch can, and then you can just chuck it back in your motor if you need be. But at least then you know how much it's filling up. Whereas if you just have a return to sump catch can setup, your oil is always just going straight back into the sump. So there's no actual way to know how much oil it's pumping into the catch can. So if something's going wrong, if you've done damage to a ring or something like that, you're not going to really be able to know about it too well, except for doing compression tests and that. But anyway, babbling on now, getting off topic. So yeah, that's the plan there. So my plan is to get that sump ready, so it's ready to go in my car, and then obviously at a later date, once this thing's finished and out of here, I'll bring mine up, pull the motor out, flip it over, and replace the sump. Alright, so I just had a whole mess of pies. So I'm like way too full to do anything right now. I'm going to have a little bit of a break while my food goes down. Rex is going to do some grinding and such. Keep on smoothing out this bay.
Yeah, this build's just gotten ridiculous. Like, it's just gotten so out of hand. The problem with having like OCD and just needing things to be neat and clean, it just gets so ridiculous. Stupid.
I would also like to mention that it's like 1,000,000 degrees today. It is so hot. It is so uncomfortable. So we've been talking about rebuilding this 31 now for like probably a year nearly. And now that we're finally doing it, we're doing it so we can sell it, which is a shame. But anyway, you'll see when it comes time to talk about it, you'll understand that it's what we're doing is certainly worth it. But anyway, now I'm just going to check where my bung is for my oil temp in this sump, just because the cross member's right there. And I didn't realize when I put the one in this sump, I was just like, it'll be right, there's nothing in the way, and I just welded it in, and I was actually just really lucky that it missed the cross member. So trying to look where it is in relation to the line for the bung, and just make sure that when I put the new one in this new sump, it's in the right place and it's not going to hit anything. Alright, so you can maybe see down there, maybe not, but it's pretty much perfectly in line with the sump oil drain plug, and it's not going to hit anything where that is, so I'll just use that and go off that and put the other one in the same place. So what I'm planning with the catch can is to actually mount it up here behind the passenger shock tower. That's my plan with that, and then obviously route my two tops around, and then the sump under the turbo and up, and then also from the catch can I'll route it actually back into the intake so that it actually draws air through the catch can, so it draws that pressure out, and also it makes it legal then as well. It's road legal. So, and then the only other issue I really got to address that I'm having with the car is the wastegate reference keeps popping off. Now the only issue with that is I believe where the wastegate is situated in relation to the shock tower and where the port on the wastegate is. So down there you can see, or probably not actually, but if I pull that up you can see it's got a straight barb on it, and it pretty much points directly at the shock tower, so there's hardly any room, and I believe that's why, I'm pretty sure these keep coming off. I reckon it's just they're getting hot to the point where the line is splitting and it's just popping off the barb. So my idea is to put a right angled 1/8 MPT barb on there so that it actually comes in from the back, and that way hopefully it'll stop splitting those hoses. So hopefully with the sump fixed and the new catch can set up and then that right angle fitting sorted, hopefully that's all of the issues that I've had with this car now then sorted proper, and it'll be ready for sale at that point. So yeah, a bit of work to do, but we'll get there. Yeah, she's coming along, So my sump's sort of ready to weld. I've just been waiting for Rex to be done with the 20 amp power. But got the TIG gear all set up. So I got here, you can see that's my little hole for my dash 10 boy. A little bit lower than I'd want to, but had to be that low because of the windage tray. So can't really have it halfway in the windage tray, and there's no way I could fit it up above the windage tray. And then still, you got to be able to get a actual fitting on there as well. You got to remember get a nut. So had to make sure it was far enough off that lip that I could get a nut screwed on there properly. So I just put it as high up underneath the windage tray as I can. The crank spins that way, so it's going to draw air through that anyway if it doesn't need to breathe. So that's pretty much my idea with where it is that if it needs to breathe, this is going to be the easiest, or the path of least resistance for the air, for the pressure to bleed out into the catch can. But if it doesn't need to breathe, because of the way of the crank spinning that way, it's going to create a natural vacuum in this area and draw air through. So I suppose on one hand, it'll act as a bit of a vacuum for the catch can, but then if the sump's pressurized, that's going to be the path of least resistance because that's where it's going to breathe out. So hopefully it sort of works both ways whenever it needs to. Bit of dual purpose. but that's as high as I could get it. So I got that there, plus I just tried to sit that at basically exactly the same place as the other sump, just because, as you saw, I made sure there's going to be nothing in the way. I did, when I was down there, I did check about this side of the sump as well, and pretty much in front of where the cross member is and where the engine mount is all pretty much clear, so that's why I decided to put it as far forward on the sump and the hump as I could. But also strategically placed it between 2 bolt holes on the sump so that it doesn't interfere with any of those when you go to put it on. So that's going to be that boy there, and that on this side is going to be this boy there. And yeah, happy days.
I was going to put mine on the other side, but yeah, just thinking about it, I might put mine in the exact same spot.
When I originally did it, I think I explained that I didn't want the sender just underneath the turbo return, just because of potentially really hot oil just dropping straight back into the sump on top of the sensor.
That's a good point.
I remember there are a few reasons I chose that part of the sump when I first did it. I can't remember exactly why, but I'm sure I told them in the video.
I'm smart, I'm sure I did it for a reason.
But yeah, look at this factory bung. Oh, nice. I'm sure that won't leak. That'll be good. I'll show you, when I actually swap the sumps over, I'll show you what the other drain bung actually looks like. It's pretty horrendous. No wonder it freaking leaks. Man, it seems that somehow, no matter how we set this up, we always end up welding in the shed in the hottest part of the freaking day.
Genius.
We are smart.
Smart boy.
Holy crap, it is hot in here with the doors closed. But anyway, got it welded up, it's all good. It was really hard to get around here, around the top part of the fitting, just because of where it is on this lip of the sump, so that was a real pain. But you can see the rest of it there. Not too bad, pretty happy with it, getting a lot better on the TIG. So it's nice, like it's nothing super special that, but it is nice to sort of jump on the TIG today after not having been on it for ages, and sort of weld half decent with no sort of practice runs or anything like that. So, I mean, that compared to the one that's in my other sump, the first one I did, which was like one of my first times really using the TIG, that is a lot tidier. So, you know, it's all improvement, which is all that's really needs to be. So anyway, this sump's ready to get completely cleaned out again, obviously. Got to get now all the swarf out of it from when I drilled the holes. And then once that's all done, I'll scrape the surface here so it's all clean, and then clean it up and give it a paint. And that'll be happy days. So now Rex is gonna drill his 1/8 MPT. So yeah, see how he goes. not bad, looks good.
It was first try at it, so I'm not too upset.
Bloody nice.
That tube was a bit of a pain. It kept melting holes. I had to fill them, so it's a little bit ugly, but it'll do the job.
Yeah, I'll paint it up. No one can see it down there anyway.
Yeah. Well, all it
Good
is
thing about the sumps is you paint them up black and they're right out on the bottom and no one really looks at them anyway, as long as they don't leak. Anyway, I'm just scraping off all the crap off the flange surface, which is a long and painful process. Got my little scrapey scrape, just takes ages, it's a pain. Anyway, I'll do that, give it one last clean up, and then I can flick a coat of paint on it, and then we're in business. Rightio, so got the trusty old rig up here. Started first hit, trusty old thing, obviously with some jumper cables because the battery was flat. You can see down there, that sump is really leaking pretty terrible. And actually, when I towed it home from the last time I went to drift it at QR, there was oil like all over my trailer. So this sump definitely needs doing, so I'm glad I'm finally doing it. It's just nice to know that it's going to be done, especially before the sale. So I decided to drag this up so that I could make the net for the catch can that I want to make, which I want to put up here. So I want to try and make a net for it today. So tomorrow I'm going back to the coast. And good mate on the coast that lets me leave my trailer at his house when I take it down there, Matt. He's a sheet worker and he's like got a pretty good workshop, sheet metal workshop set up in his shed. So he's got a big gillo and a bender and stuff like that. So I figure if I can make up the net today with cardboard, I can take it down to tomorrow when I go back. Hopefully go to Bunnings and get a sheet of stainless and maybe get him to cut and fold up the net. And then I can bring it back out here and weld it up. And obviously I need to buy a whole heap more dash 10 fittings. And then I still need to buy my hose and stuff, but at least it gets my catch can underway, which would be really nice. Rightio guys, I've made my little net, got it sorted. So this is going to sit sort of in here like so. Nice and snug. It's going to be nice and beautiful in there. So that's going to sit there. I'm going to have obviously two dash 10s and they're going to go to my two fittings on my can cover there, my tablet cover. Start with this side. Then there is going to be a sort of split, a wall internally, plus obviously some, what do you call them, steel wool. Bit of steel wool there just for dampening. There's going to be another dash 10 fitting here. That dash 10 is going to go to another dash 10 on the intake. So that's going to obviously put this catch can sort of under a bit of vacuum, which is good and again makes it legal. So it's routed back into the intake. Then what I'm going to do is on this face here, I'm going to put another dash 10 fitting, probably here. So that dash 10 is going to go to the new dash 10 on my sump. So like I said, that's going to act as sort of a breather when it's under sort of pressure, as well as a little bit of vacuum when it's not, because of the way the crank spins and creates some vacuum on that side. But the other thing is by putting it that little bit lower to the rest of the fittings, it means that if this catch can does fill up to that point, it will drain back to the sump before it sort of sucks it all back into the intake. Because having it routed back into the intake like that, the last thing I want to do is completely fill it up and you know, not drain it in time, and then just have all that oil just pumped straight into the intake. That's not what I want. So that's why I'm going to put the sump one a little bit further down. And then I'm also going to put on the bottom here, just down the bottom, in one of the bottom corners, I'll put a dash 8 bung as well. And that dash 8 is just going to come out. I'll have a tap on it, and I'll just drill a hole and poke it through the inner guard there, so that it sort of hangs down here behind the wheel. So that way, if you're at a track day, just a hard right turn, get your wheel out of the way, you can poke a container under there, turn the tap on, drain the catch can, and actually see how much comes out. So you can see how much catch can's filling up on track day, and easily drain the catch can. So that's how the setup's going to work. It's going to eliminate all of the blow by pushing all the oil all over the engine bay, making it all filthy and dirty, and you know, leaking more oil. So after that, that's going to be pretty much the blow by issues sorted. Like I said, I'm not that worried about the rings because they're very safe for boost, which is really ideal. It makes it a little bit low on comp when it's not pressurized, but obviously the way rings work, the more boost you get in there, the better that ring's going to seal. And having that extra ring gap just makes it that much safer to wind a bit more boost into it, for anyone that wants to go that way, who wants to buy it. So I can get rid of this Ganger heat shield because I'm really sure now that I've put so much extra timing into it, I've sorted out the EGT issue. So yeah, that's literally all the issues that I've been having with this car will be sorted then, and it'll be ready to go to a new owner as a turnkey drift car, ready to just shred. So it's a shame, like I said, we've been talking about doing Rexes for ages. I'm finally sorting all these issues just so we can sell them, which sucks. So after looking at the setup of mine, Rex has actually decided to route his intercooler the same way. He's decided to get rid of this intercooler and get a 600, like a proper decent sized one, a 6x300, the same size as mine, because that one's a bit small. And also Rex has got the 25 box, and he's got the better coil setup. So he is looking to be running a fair bit more boost than I was. He's looking to be making a lot more power than mine is, just because the box can handle it. So given the fact that he's going to be running more boost, he's better off going with the bigger cooler. So he's decided to do that. It's going to be a lot neater. So given that, he's decided to...
And I didn't like the brackets on the old one. They looked shit.
He didn't like the brackets, so he thought if he's going to make new brackets, he may as well get a new cooler. So on top of that, because he's decided to flip it the same way mine is and run his pipes the same way mine run, which is obviously underneath the headlight. It's a very direct, good route. I'll show you. So you can see on mine, they just run underneath the headlights, both sides, and I've got a 6x300 intercooler that is flipped. So very, very short, easy routing. Doesn't particularly interfere with anything. It's really neat. So it makes all the piping real short. It's all real neat. But because Rex's was running down through the inner guard in front of the wheel arch, he's got a few big holes to weld up now. So he's plating up and welding up a few big holes.
Luckily, it's only this side. The other one came under the headlight anyway.
Yeah, right. So whoever did it had routed it behind the Rio and up under the headlight on this side, but the other side had gone through that inner guard. So it's another hole Rex is going to weld up, and he's already cut the holes underneath the headlights to run the new pipes. Also, Rex pulled his guard off to find that his 31, unfortunately, has fallen victim to the famed 31 rust behind the guard.
I was recently informed by a semi-reliable source that that is a common R31 thing.
Yes, that is a very common R31 thing for all you people. If anyone's looking at buying a 31, this is very common on 31s. Good idea to just pop the indicator out of the guard. You can see right here in this common issue that is problematic. Fortunately, mine is completely rust-free. It's a very rare car. Mine's completely not a dime of rust in it, except for the spare wheel well in the boot, which again, that's another very common issue with them, but it's not that big of a problem. But
we'll cut that out.
Yeah, Rex is going to have to cut all this out and plate this up too, so got to get all the rust out of this car before it sells as well. So this reasonably quick freshen up of this car is just quickly turning into quite a big deal. So yeah, this side's the same. So again, just a common thing with 31s. So you can see here, these indicators are pretty much like right in the right spot to be able to look exactly in that spot if you pop them out. So all they are is just a screw. Once you pop that screw out, you can just pop that side out and slide it forward and pop that indicator out, and you can check in behind at that inner guard and see how rusty it is, because that's a very common rust spot for them. And yeah, like I was saying, I can't show you my boot because there's tyres all over it, but the spare wheel well, which is just under here, in the boot, that also rusts out fairly quickly if it's been like blocked up. Usually just drill a hole in it so water can drain out of it. But again, it's just literally a single skin right at the bottom of the boot. It's so easy to just cut out and plate up if it's rusty. So the other thing is, where neither of us are going to put the wings on the cars, Rex is going to actually, when he repaints it, he's going to completely bog up all the holes. Mine does have the holes on the boot, which is a shame, but I'm not going to go through the effort of bogging them up to repaint it or anything. But if anyone does want to buy them, we will have the drag wings to go with them if any of you want to put them back on. I'm tossing up at the moment whether to put the skirts and the lip on Rex's car or not. I suppose I'll decide later on and see how much time I've got.
Just wanted to know if those lines were going to show up in the new paint, if they're in the metal, or because this has been resprayed by someone before, see the difference in colour, but it seems like they're just runs in the paint, so they should smooth out.
I've got a coat of paint on my new Sump. A few more coats to go. It's only a Sump, but just make it that little bit nice and prettier. Rightio, I had to clear the card on the GoPro because it was full, so that took a little while. So a bit of downtime, but Rex has sanded all the engine bay, now he's bogging it up. So bogging up all his welds, and then it'll be sand back again. So much work. Rex is really sort of starting to regret how far he's gone, because he's this far. He's committed, and God, there's a lot of work to do now.
Yeah, it'll be worth it in the end.
Yeah, it will look really good. So yeah, if anyone's interested in buying it, hit us up, because as you can see, you'll see the whole build as it unfolds. You'll know everything in the car. How's this? I've been saving this for a special occasion. I just spent a bit of time cleaning this up. Check this out. Here's an RB25 viscous fan, clutch fan, that I've had lying around for a little while. Not a single crack. Not one. Not even a hairline. This fan on its own is probably worth about $300. So Gonna chuck that on for Rex. Obviously the 25, the fin profile, they draw a fair bit more air than the 30 fans. Plus Rex's old 30 fan here's got a fair few cracks in it. Honestly, I've seen them cracked like all the way through and still hold on fine, pretty high RPM. They are pretty tough. So not like the aftermarket plastic ones that tend to sort of fly apart. The OEM ones that seem to be that softer sort of compound of plastic, they do hold together pretty well. Don't be too worried if it's cracked. I've seen them hold together while they're pretty cracked. So Sump's had 3 coats of paint. It's looking all beautiful. Oh, look at that. Might get a photo of that, eh? Because it's so hot here, we're a bit white, like it's been a bit, how you going mixing up the bog, because it's so hot it's going off so fast, so we're only mixing a little bit at a time. Just smash it in because it's going off so fast because it's about 40 degrees in this shed.
Better off getting it on there and sanding it off. It's not too bad because it's all shaky. I'll only use it as sturdy.
Keen to see the finished product of this. I hope I don't have to go. Like, it's ironic because I really would like to go away for work because I need the money. Like, I would really like to be very busy for the next couple of weeks, but at the same time, sort of want to be around to see this build unfold because it's going to be awesome, and I want to be able to get really nice content of it because I know how much you all like R31 content, and we have been talking about doing this for so long and never got around to it, and I feel real bad about it. So, hope you're really enjoying all this 31 content because there's going to be a fair bit of it coming. Alrighty, I think I'm starting to go deaf from the sander being in my ear, but
My hands are tingling.
we're all covered in crap, but we are getting there. So we've got a few more swipes to do a bog and a few low spots, but it is coming up pretty good. It's gonna be nice and smooth. Nice and smooth.
So stupid.
But it's a lot of work for a drift car engine bay. I'm glad someone else is going to be able to really enjoy this.
Yeah, someone else is going to love this engine bay so that they can buy this thing and then probably bin it at the first event, smash it. But, you know.
It'll break our heart, but you know.
Well, if they give me the money, then
Yeah,
it's their car.
as long as we get the money, that's okay. But, you know, it's going to be a really nice car when it's done.
As far as track cars go, it's going to be like stupid, honestly.
All this effort for a dirty old char bus.
Yeah, just dirty old 31 of all things. Of all the things in my entire life, starting out as like full-on muscle car kid, it's like Japanese, ew, don't want to know about it. Never in my life thought I'd even own a Skyline at all. And here we
Look
are,
where we are now.
going to this extent for like the R31 of all things. It's like,
the butthole of Skylines.
well, it's like, you know, that Family Guy meme of Meg.
And
just-
that's why we love them.
of Meg yelling at everyone else, like, you guys always act like you're better than me. Yeah. That's like R31s to the rest of the R series. Like,
It's because they're the only Skyline that was exclusively, this version was exclusively Australian delivered, and it's not like any of the others. You got McPherson strut, which is not like any other generation of Skyline. We've got solid front end, which is unlike any other generation of Skyline. No,
that
every
right?
other Skyline's double wishbone.
huh?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, all the other Skylines are double wishbone. Only the 31 is the McPherson strut front end, which is very similar. That's why S13 stuff goes into them. So these are a very unique to Australia car, being that they're solid rear end as well. All the JDM 31s had IRS. So yeah.
Well, double wishbone is technically better.
Oh, here we go. Semantic Sam over here getting into what's technically better.
Well,
Whoa.
well,
He's that mad about it, he's throwing shit at me.
yeah, pen right to the eye. Well, like from an engineering standpoint, the double wishbone is better as far
Yeah,
as your
because it keeps your
goes.
geometry the same through the stroke of
Yeah,
the
yeah,
suspension.
yeah. But having said that, McPherson strut is and the
Bolt
reason-
camber, brah!
Well, the reason it's popular is because it's a lot simpler.
Yeah, it's very simple.
and it's a lot cheaper, and it's still pretty effective. So
Anyway, basically, we love Skylines for everything they are, but we also hate Skylines for everything they are. The 31, that is. But, I mean, you wouldn't love them if you know, didn't go through this much effort to fucking build a piece of junk to sell.
I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with me.
Unless you're on your own for a week.
Yeah,
Look
see
at
what
what's
happens
going
when
on.
you leave? You leave and I make decisions on my own. This sort of shit happens.
Oh god, oh well, a lot of work, but we're committed now. There's no turning back. Alrighty, so there's a few things on this, like the manifold for the aircon. We're going to leave that in there because this thing still has all of the aircon stuff under the dash. So whoever does buy this, if they want to street it and they do feel like putting all the aircon stuff back in, they actually can. We actually have condenser, pump, the lines, everything. We have everything to convert this car back to aircon. We aren't going to bother putting it back on because it is, you know, a track car, but it can be registered. So
That Silhouette has full
everything.
aircon system.
Yeah,
in it,
I've
so-
got RB aircon pumps lying around as well.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I got a couple.
Oh.
Yeah. I do have a few aircon pumps from RB. So basically, everything's going to be here under dash for if you want to fit the condenser and all of the pump and everything back to this car, you can run aircon. We're not going to bother. We're going to market it more as a. We're going to market it more as a track car that can be registered because that's what it is.
You fucking dick.
Bug just flew into Rex's
You
bog.
You fucking asshole of a thing. Yeah, I touched your butt, mate. I'm trying to get you out of this fucking soup.
So there's going to be a few things here that are like they, you know, we're trying to make it look really nice, but at the same time, there's going to be a few things like that manifold which we're going to leave just for future. You know, the thing is, as far as we know, it's got clean tags. We still actually have to do a res check, but as far as we're aware, it's got clean tags. It has been mod plated for the turbo and the manual swap.
I'll do that in a minute. Actually, I'll do a revs check on it.
Yeah, we'll do a res check. So it has actually been mod plated. You know, it's going to be quite a tidy car at the end of it. It can be streeted. Obviously, there's going to be a few things on it that are illegal. That's why we're going to sell it as a track car. Same with mine. Like, mine's exactly the same, where it's actually quite a clean example. It's all been mod plated, so it's all pretty right. It's just that things like the roll center correction kit are illegal. Things like having a welded diff or a lock diff is illegal. Things like having a hydraulic handbrake are illegal. So
It's up to the new owners.
yeah, pretty much. As far as lenient roadworthy guys, generally, if you're buying the car and you have a roadworthy guy, you know, it's all sweet. If you're buying the car, you're keeping it, you want to register it, he'll be like, yep, here you go, sweet. But as far as selling the car to someone else, no one will ride out a roadworthy for that sort of stuff. So both of these cars are going to be sold as, you know, track cars aimed at people who may want to street them if they have the means to get, you know, them on the street. But anyway, this is coming along. This is going to be the rest of our night. It's just going to keep swiping, waiting for it to dry, sanding it back. We've got a few other places, Rex's marked, where we're going to swipe again to fill some low spots. Whole lot of work to do the engine bay of a track car, but hopefully it's all going to be worth it. I'm excited to see how it's going to come out. But anyway, I'm not going to keep filming because it's going to be the same thing over and over again. We may even just swipe this and let it rest overnight and then sand it back in the morning. Well, not me, I've got to go in the morning, but I'll leave the camera with Rex again. But anyway, thanks for watching as always. Hope you are enjoying 31 content being back. It's good to be finally working on our own stuff again. It's been good to be busy, honestly. It's been good to be, you know, making dosh and being busy doing other people's cars, but it is nice to finally get in and do some stuff that we've been planning on our own stuff for a long time. And I know that with the content, it's a lot better for you guys to be invested in our stuff than it is for us to sort of just mindlessly film what we're working on. So cool, that's going ahead. Finally, it's about time. Hope you're enjoying. Hit subscribe so you don't miss anything. Hit the bell so you don't miss anything. Leave a comment and smash like. And yeah, we'll see you on the next one. Cheers, guys. Catch you later.